Hi there. This is a quick post-election update, really promo video for all of the news that's going to come out tomorrow, Thursday, at the next big quarterly earnings call for HBO's parent company, Warner Brothers Discovery. This past weekend, I posted a major research video, which I've been working on for a month, and it's harder to make something succinct. It started out as a 2-hour podcast. I managed to get it down to just half an hour, short and sweet. Researching everything that's been going wrong with HBO's parent company, Warner Discovery, behind the scenes since it was created by that merger 2.5 years ago. And I was going over the various mistakes that David Zaslav made in terms of that, well, this wouldn't really increase the stock price, that it's really his own blunder for not getting the NBA. Then again, maybe Amazon outbid them. There's only so much they could do, but there are some things that are beyond just harsh business practices, but this is a mistake that you shouldn't have cut things here and there. And for a while, I was all for, look, you got to cut a lot of this. They're deeply in debt. Until they started cutting episode budget from their flagship franchises on HBO and Max, which those are the most profitable part of their company. It's the cable division that's bleeding money. So what I said in the video after explaining these are all the 4 big problems they had, I said that it appears that since they had this disastrous last quarterly earnings report on August 7th, that they've adopted a wait-and-see attitude, that this was terrible news, but the upcoming presidential election will change the playing field so much that they'll make a decision after that, such as maybe they'll sell HBO. I actually think that's improbable. I think they'd probably try to sell the whole thing as a unit, or make another lopsided mega merger with another company, maybe Paramount, the way that Discovery absorbed Warner at the beginning of all of this. Well, the main point of the video still stands. I'm going to leave it up, that I said it was the possibility of a Democrat victory after switching candidates, that Zaslav made comments in July that he was assured that the Republicans would win. Then, they switched candidates, so it's in late July, and then, well, we don't know what's going on. So by August 7th, I figured they have a wait-and-see attitude because it really was tied 50-50. It could have gone either way. But as things turned out, the Republicans had a clear victory. I really thought this would drag out for a week with vote counting, because it's decided in the swing states by a matter of a couple of tens of thousands of people. But regardless, it was a clear Republican election victory. And I said, Republicans are historically, anti-regulation, so historically mega mergers are planned for when there's a Republican administration. Specifically, when Disney bought Fox in 2017, they timed it to that. This is common sense. Why wouldn't they wait for deregulation? So what I said was, if this was Zaslav's plan and the Democrats won, that means his plan was ruined, and there's a good chance that the board of directors would revolt against him. I don't know what's going to happen exactly, but I can say that that is not going to happen. If nothing else, the board of directors isn't going to revolt against Zaslav now that there was a Republican victory. Instead, he'll probably try to announce something at the earnings call, and in the next 2 months before the new year, Zaslav, this was what he was waiting for, of getting rid of all of the red tape. And don't take my word for it. After I posted that video, earlier in the weekend, this morning, Wednesday, CNBC posted a really good long-form article to their website, which I will link below. I'm not going to read off the whole thing, because read it start to finish. This is what I predicted. All of this talk about that there's mega mergers and stuff. One thing I didn't anticipate is, I did phrase the second half of my video as a conditional of, I'm not sure if Zaslav is actively trying to just gut and resell the company, or if he's just made a lot of blunders. And don't rule out, just basic stupidity that, okay, that pissing off the NBA was stupid, but I actually think there's a third option in between, a mix of those two, that in broad strokes, this isn't a bad plan. We're heavily in debt. cut the company to the bone in order to sell it by a mega merger with another company, sort of like what Discovery did to Warner. But he's not just going to take the money and run. He apparently wants to merge companies just to pool their resources against the big tech companies that have infinite money for their streamers, like Amazon and Apple. Some suspect, based on the CNBC article, that he's going to try to sell it to Amazon or Apple or maybe even Google. And full disclosure, Google owns YouTube. That's where I get my YouTube money from. So I, for one, welcome our Google overlords. But the article says other insiders say that he really doesn't like big tech, that his plan was always make mega mergers with the other legacy content companies that still have cable stuff. And the article goes into this in detail. The problem is, and the question of the hour, were people hesitant to do mega mergers purely because of regulatory red tape, or because even if that red tape wasn't there, they just don't think it's profitable anymore? Zaslav is betting on that once there's deregulation from a Republican administration, as there will be now, others will be more willing to do this. He actually spent months trying to absorb Paramount, it turns out. Other articles came out that wasn't just a flash in the pan, oh, maybe I'll ridiculously try to buy Paramount. If he was trying to flip Warner, he wouldn't have been trying to merge with Paramount. So now I'm leaning more towards just slashing budgets was necessary, but he took it to the point, he fumbled it, what was in principle not the worst plan ever. Max is the profitable part, don't cut that. Whatever the case, even Disney has been having problems with all this because they're saddled with debt from all the Disney cable companies. But look at what happened to Paramount when they tried to sell themselves earlier this year. They couldn't find a buyer because of the amount of money, the amount of red tape. Ultimately, they settled on a minor company, Skydance, to buy a controlling asset. And that won't even be finalized until September of 2025. Zaslav is apparently hoping that he can sell unevenly, it's a merger sale thing, to one of these other companies. Even the head of Comcast even openly said, we are not looking to sell if Zaslav is trying to do this, because Comcast owns NBC Universal. But now there's theories that maybe Comcast will spin off NBC Universal and sell it to Warner. We don't really know. So maybe he was trying to build up a war chest to buy out Paramount is another thing. Well, I need to merge with them to get their content. Not the worst idea ever. I just think the belt tightening went a bit too far. So like I said, there are not just a binary of one or two things that could happen now, that whatever Zaslav was planning, he is now free to do. But the question now really is, will the market sustain whatever his plan was? Will he make another offer for Paramount? There's a lot of other little companies that have been unable to find buyers for their content, such as Starz, Vice Media. He might actually try to buy AMC Networks. They don't have their own streaming platform. They have a lot of legacy content. I don't know what they're going to do with that. So whatever's going to happen, this is Zaslav's shot. And there isn't going to be a director revolt. And if he can pull this off, fair enough, that I actually don't think he's trying to take the money and run anymore. That he wouldn't have tried to do the Paramount thing with that. How does this affect the world of Westeros and House of the Dragon? Well, keep in mind that we don't care when the sale is finalized, because it's a process, it takes a full year. What matters is the perception that if they know, okay, regulations were eased, we are now actively merging with some other company, but it'll take a year to finalize, knowing that it's already a done thing, it's just taking time, they might loosen the purse strings. And by the time House of the Dragon Season 3 filming begins in spring, they might pump more money back into it. That if he can announce between now and March, I have this big new merger deal already planned, it'll take a year to finalize, but that's just the ink drying. They might increase the budget for House of the Dragon and other related projects. Whatever happens, the point is, whatever happens, I hope it happens fast. That it was either Democrat victory leads to board of directors revolt and increased profits, or Zaslav gets a free hand to quickly do whatever merger he was trying to do And once it's locked in, he can give us more budget again by the time filming starts. This is all just a heads up. I'm 10 minutes into this. I'm keeping it short. The point is, my whole prediction, I did, phrases conditionals. If there's a Republican victory, this is what they're going to try to do. It seemed less likely once, they shifted candidates, halfway through a thing. That led everyone to pause and go, what the heck is going on? Let's wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen now, and the markets are all doing their thing, but short term, the one thing that wouldn't have benefited anyone was just delay. Whatever's going to happen now is going to happen fast, and I expect a lot of announcements tomorrow, Thursday, out of that earnings call. It is possible that they might, even if this all works out, if they absorb Paramount or merge with Disney evenly, with an even sharing thing, one way or another, they have to sell their video game division because they really don't know how to run it. Even Disney doesn't have an in-house video game division anymore. And it's estimated they could sell it for something like $5 billion cash in hand. And they didn't because they thought, it mints money. I don't know if even if obviously there's a lame duck period, but the perception of we're looking ahead to January when there's different people in charge and there will be less red tape, I don't know if that'll speed up the sale of the video game division. Even if the Democrats won, they should sell the video game division. They really, Suicide Squad, a series of flops, all this mismanagement. That'll also happen one way or another. We've actually heard they are exploring selling their video game division, so take that as you will. But whatever, I wouldn't say crazy in the sense of whatever daring merger scheme Zaslav was hoping for, and not necessarily to flip it, but it seems more like he's desperately trying to survive being edged out by Amazon and Netflix. He just doesn't really know how. Which again, that's I said, don't rule out. He's trying to make the company work. He's just making bad decisions. So I'm going to leave that video up, and I originally said it's like a 3-hour series. I'm not going to make a 3-hour series because I'm behind schedule, and the whole thing of it's harder to be succinct, that in 1/2 hour I managed to explain 2.5 years worth of business history so clearly that I can't really improve on it. I looked and went, I can't say more than this, except I will make a separate short video on the video game division. That there were a few details I left out of there for time. So I'm going to make a separate one about the video game thing. That would happen regardless, because it's kind of separate from all the other problems. What I care about is if they give House of the Dragon the episode budget they need to do their job. And if there was ever a backlash, there was a backlash, universal backlash. SNL was making fun of it, of you cut their budget at the last minute. So if we get 10 episodes again, and Zaslav thinks this is a viable plan, what matters to me is if we get 10 episode seasons again and let the writers do their jobs. I'm hoping a lot of the fighting between Martin and the writers was really the writers had their hands tied by the studio cutting their budget. We don't know. I have separate videos on how much of this is stuff they wanted to do and how much is stuff that budget cuts forced them to do. I don't know. But I'm keeping this audio only. Check out the CNBC article, which is exactly as I predicted last weekend, of saying this is what's going to happen now that their hands aren't tied. And check back frequently for news about the big earnings call tomorrow to see whatever Zaslav was planning. He got his shot. Let's see him say what he intends to do.